So tell us who you are.
So my name is Heidi Bornstein. I'm the founder of Mindfulness Everyday. And Mindfulness Everyday is a registered Canadian charity, and we've been delivering mindfulness programs in the community with a focus on education for the past 10 years.
Tell us how you started off doing meditation, which is sort of the basis of mindfulness.
I started off meditating when I was a teen, and on my first trip to Europe, I was living on Ios, a Greek island. There was about 10 of us that were living there. And somebody gave us a book on meditation. Nobody knew anything about meditation, but we would gather on my balcony every night at sunset, and we would read the book and we would practice meditation. And that led me into an interest in it, which eventually led me to India. To deepen my practice, I found a teacher and an ashram, and I actually spent 15 years studying yoga and meditation in the Himalayas.
And then you had to come back to Toronto.
Because of our visas, we had to come back every 3 years to get a visa. One of those trips I came back and the universe tilted at that moment. And all of a sudden, even though I'd had a house in India, I had a community in India, I ended up in Toronto. And it was time. I had spent enough time developing my own practice, and I really wanted to see how it could be brought to others. I was looking at what was happening in the state of the world, and I really felt that meditation had helped me so much in my own life that it would be helpful to others.
But when you came back, you first started working on yoga in schools.
Yeah, I created a program called Yoga, which was for the 20-minute DPA, daily fitness allotment. They had cut so much phys out of schools, and then they found out they needed to put it back in, so they mandated 20 minutes of daily fitness. But they, of course, mandated it without a plan. So I created a pilot program called Yoga, where we went into every single class in an elementary school, 240 kids in one day, and did 20 minutes of yoga with them. And we did it over a 3-month period. I used to have kids come up to me in the Home Depot in my area, go, "Mommy, there's the yoga lady."
So how did yoga teaching transform into mindfulness teaching? What's the story behind that?
Well, what happened was I actually met my partner, Stephen Chadwick, on eHarmony. That was the transition into that. And he's a retired school teacher. He's also interested in meditation, and particularly interested in bringing meditation to kids. And through a contact of his, there was a program called Learning to Breathe that was looking for facilitators to pilot it with grade 9s. And this was a mindfulness program that was based on the mindfulness-based stress reduction program created by John Kabat-Zinn. So we became trained as mindfulness-based stress reduction facilitators, and we piloted this Learning to Breathe program with grade 9s at Ridgeview Collegiate in Etobicoke.
So this was the first mindfulness program in Toronto?
Yes.
In the schools?
Yes, and there was a research study done behind it, and for me, and Steve did the boys and we did the girls, because at that point in time, grade 9s were segregated. It was through the phys ed curriculum. And when I started teaching these girls, something went off on me, and it was like, this is it. This is what I want to be doing. It was such a rich opportunity, and I love working with teenagers. They're just at that point in their lives where they're trying to figure out who they are, big one, who am I, and what am I going to do with my life? So it's it's a pivotal time in their lives, and it's a fantastic time to bring in mindfulness. Because at that point, they're being asked to make these major decisions in their life without a strategy or a tool for trying to figure out who they are and what's going to be the thing that's going to make them happy. And strangely enough, it's not money. It's other things. So part of what we bring in our program is exploring what those other things are.
And this program then got expanded or enhanced?
Well, this was a pilot program, and it was by a company in the States, and of course, things they morphed into something else. And what happened was, there's a school in the area that we live in called R.H. King. It's a leadership academy. It's a high school. And what happened there is the kids were going to the guidance department and they were saying that they were really stressed out, feeling overwhelmed, unable to handle the stresses of being in high school. The social worker at the school had taken the MBSR program at North York General and said, wow, this program was so helpful to me, I bet it would be helpful to teens. So because we had done work with the other program, she found Steve and I and asked us if we would come into the school as volunteers, no money, and run a pilot program. So we created a pilot program, an 8-week pilot program that was composed of 20 students from grade 9 to 12. It wasn't by grade, and 5 teachers. We delivered it after school. There was an action-based research study that was done on the program. And it was amazing. And what was amazing about it is, first of all, this was an after school, this was voluntary, you know, the kids weren't getting anything out of it, and we actually had consistent attendance. Because from day one, these kids felt that it was so beneficial to them in terms of focus, attention, stress management, emotion regulation, and generally feeling better about themselves that they kept coming. The teachers who came also got so much out of it for themselves that they said this program should be part of curriculum. And as a result, we have been part of the grade 9 leadership curriculum for about 9 years. And then we expanded the program, that was for grade 11s to grade 9s. And we have an introductory program to mindfulness that's delivered to 300 grade 9s a year that go to this RH King.
And there's another aspect to this teaching for teens. It's also working with the teachers. You have another program called SMART. Could you tell us how the two fit together?
Well, what we started to realize was that because of the current budget situation with schools, public schools, you're not going to find schools that can have the money to hire mindfulness experts to come into schools and teach these programs. And especially since mindfulness is an approach to life that's developed with practice over time. So it's not a one-off. So the program we deliver as part of the grade 11 leadership is a 12-session program that's delivered once a week to the kids. So what we started to realize is that if we really wanted to reach more kids, we would have to train the teachers. Also, teachers right now are under a great deal of stress. I don't know if you know this fact, but 50% of teachers leave the teaching profession in the first 5 years. The level of stress and burnout is really, really high in the profession right now. So we can't really be expecting kids to acquire qualities of calmness and ability to be able to respond to situations when all the adults in their lives are not displaying those qualities. So we went out to look for an evidence-based program because that's what education requires. And we found a program called Smart in Education. One-page website, hard to get hold of them. Finally ended up making a connection, and we trained our facilitators in this program called SMART, which is now part of UBC Faculty of Education. To date, we've trained over, I would say we're up at 600 educators in Ontario. We have over 20 facilitators that are training teachers to be able to learn mindfulness skills for themselves. Now, why does that work? First of all, if they decide they want to teach mindfulness to the kids, they're coming at it from their own authentic experience. The other thing is that they're modeling the qualities that we want to see in their kids. So they're actually being mindful, and that's what the kids are responding to. So we're finding that for teachers, one of the main issues for teachers is boundaries. You know, teachers have lives. They're dealing with all sorts of issues in their own lives. They're dealing with aging parents. They're dealing with kids of special needs in their own families. They're dealing with just illness and, you know, just the things that happen to normal people. They have to be able to be totally present when they show up in school. And the other side of it is that when they leave the school, they want to be able to, as one of my teachers said, the kids in school get the best of me. My family gets the rest of me. They want to be able to be totally present for their kids and their families. So what we found is that the program in teaching educators is that it's both personally and professionally helpful to them.
So going back to the teens that you teach, what makes it effective for them? What is your approach about with them?
Well, first of all, the main approach is that it's invitational. It's not mandating mindfulness. And what we invite them to do is to explore whether this would work with them with a sense of curiosity and interest. So it's really, because the program is actually part of curriculum, they have to take it. In fact, we just finished a course before the holidays, before Christmas, and that was our fall season. And one student came up to me and said, you know, when this course first started, I went to the teacher and said, do I have to show up for this? And he said, no, you don't have to show up, but you'll fail. So she came and she had a lot of skepticism, and that's what we deal with usually, a lot of skepticism. So we start off by creating a relevance with kids. We first of all show them how mindfulness is in the world, how it's used in the world of business and sports and entertainment, and also how it's showing up in Canadian universities. Right now there's a crisis in our universities with first and second year students. And more of the student services in universities are putting in mindfulness programs to help the kids there. So one of the approaches we use with the teens in high school is to say, you're getting the program now, a program that most kids are getting later in university. So first we create relevance. And then we teach them about things that are important to them. We teach them about the neurobiology of stress. Right now in Ontario, kids are not taught about the neurobiology of stress until grade 11 phys ed, and that's if they're still in phys ed, because phys ed is no longer mandatory after grade 9. So kids don't actually understand what's happening in their bodies. They know they can say, I'm feeling stressed out, but they don't understand what's happening physically, emotionally, and what's actually happening in their brains. After one of those lessons, I had a student come back to me, and he had been so inspired that he went and did his own research. And he found a Scientific American article that had to do with the impacts of stress and making decisions. And he came back and he said, I just read this article about what happens in your brain when you're stressed out, and nobody should be making decisions when they're stressed out. And I said, I know, that's why we want to bring this program to you, because just look at who's running the planet right now. So I think that that's where we've been able to build bridges, is to just get them to understand, first of all, what it is. So mindfulness is paying attention to the here and now with kindness and curiosity. It's about being aware of the relationship that you have with your own self, with your body, mind, emotions, and your physical body. It's about your relationship with the people around you. It's about relationship with the planet as well. So we give a wide angle view. The other thing that we bring into our teaching is healthy habits. And, you know, we're constantly telling kids that, you know, they need to sleep. But what we bring in is what happens in their brains when they don't get enough sleep. And we've actually started to change the sleep patterns in grade 11 by making them aware of how they're able to function when they actually get a good night's sleep. So we talk about sleep, we talk about nutrition, we talk about getting good exercise. And then we talk about mindfulness. Because it's very hard to be mindful if you're hungry. One of the major parts of our program is we actually teach mindful eating, and we do mindful snacks every week. So the kids actually learn to eat mindfully with, we use fruit bars because they're affordable, they're wrapped, and they have no sugar in them, just fruit sugar. They don't, you know, they're safe. But we find kids who come back and they say that they realize that some of the junk food that they've been eating, when they actually slow down enough to taste what they're eating, they don't like it anymore.
So you've had a lot of impact on a lot of people, both adults and teens. Can you tell us some of the things they've told you, some of the other things that maybe have inspired you to keep doing this work, because this has been your life work?
We ask these 3 questions at the end of the program. So the question is, you know, what was the most important lessons for me? How will I use what I learned in my life? And, you know, what did I learn from this program? We've had kids say that it was probably the most important course that they got in high school, because it wasn't defined just by high school. It was a life skills course. We've had kids who, as part of the program, have started to remember how important it is for them to do the things that they love and to do the things that give them energy. This particular school, the leadership program, the kids are they're very driven. They have to do more community service hours than are required by the Ontario curriculum. They have to serve on 2 committees. They often have part-time jobs, and they often have a heavy-duty schedule because they're all university bound. So they've got a lot on their plate. And what they start to realize is that they've forgotten about the things that they love to do. And it could be playing music, it could be going for walks, it could be just connecting and talking to friends in person, not just on technology. And so I think that the impact that we're helping kids with is we're helping them with emotional regulation. One of the kids said, mindfulness is me not hitting my brother. It helps them with being able to focus and concentrate. One of the questions we ask the kids is, have you ever been given a homework assignment that you were told was supposed to take you half an hour, and 2 hours later you're still trying to get into the program? Every hand goes up when we ask that question. And we ask them, what happens? They get distracted. What do they get distracted with? Just about everything. So by teaching them about the quality of attention, that the nature of the mind is to wander, but you have the ability to bring it back, we teach them the ability to be able to focus on something that they're working on. So they actually can accomplish what they need to do in less amount of time. Interestingly enough, when we did our research study, one of the side effects was we found that people, they found that they were more up to date on their schoolwork. They didn't procrastinate as much. So what they did was they knew what they had to do, and they were aware of it, and they got it done on time. So that was a great benefit. We've also, as I said, we changed sleep patterns, so we've made people more aware of what they need physically to operate at their peak level. We also teach a class on happiness. We teach a class on the science of happiness, where we really investigate, like, what is happiness? What is it for me? What do I need to make myself happy? And it's really interesting to teach that to grade 11s. I had one girl say to me, nobody's ever asked me that. She's at the moment where she's making decisions about what she's going to do with the rest of her life, and she's never really looked at what's going to make her happy. She knows what's going to make her parents happy, but what's going to make her happy? So I think we do a pretty good job on having kids really investigate who they are. One of my favorite parts of this course is we do a culminating project, and it's called Who Am I? And we invite the kids to not do it electronically. We invite it to be a collage, or to use some sort of art, which a lot of the kids, when they were little, used to do all the time and love. And this is another thing that they've forgotten that they loved. So when we went around the group this time and I asked them, what did you get out of doing this project? And they said, you know, it was really amazing. I started to remember all of these things that I love to do, and now I'm going to make more time to do them. They started to realize how many beautiful, full things they have in their lives when they're so focused on achieving in school. And it's like it opened up the blinders to let them see the richness of their lives. Their communities, their families, their cultural background. We have this amazing, amazing cultural diversity in Toronto. So, and it also let them explore creatively how to express that. We had 3D models, we had all sorts of amazing representations of who am I. We had kids say that they were going to keep this project and bring it to them when they went to university, because it was like a snapshot in time of who they were.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say about your program? Anything that you and I have talked about before that we haven't talked about now, that we haven't asked the right questions for?
Or future plans?
Future plans?
Well, future plans right now is to continue teaching more teachers about this. And the most amazing thing is the receptivity that we're getting both with the Minister of Education and with various boards that we have partnerships. It used to be that we were always trying to prove why mindfulness was work. And now that platform, that foundation has been laid, and now it's more, how are we going to do it? So we're constantly investigating what are the ways that we can reach kids where they're at. You know, we're not maybe trying to turn them into meditators where they can just sit with their eyes closed on a cushion for half an hour. We're trying to bring in this idea of mindful awareness into the things that they're already doing. So we're looking at developing a series of 1 to 10 minute practices that can be brought in during times of transition in the day, that can be distributed as a package to teachers that have taken the teacher training, so that they can have something that they can bring to their kids. I would just like to see more of these programs be implemented in our education system. And what we see is that if you want to make a change in the kids, you have to involve the parents. We've had more requests for parent programs in the past 2 years than ever before. And now we're offering parent workshops. And we also want to be offering more training to administrators so that they understand why it's important for their teachers to be supported and funded in this program. Right now, to be perfectly honest, the teachers that take our program, for the most part, they do it on their own time and they do it on their own dime. So what I would like to see is I would like to see more funding and more support for teachers to get this skill set. They're not actually taught it in their teacher training, except for at UBC, Faculty of Ed. It's part of the SMART program, which is our stress management and resiliency techniques for educators, is part of the UBC School of Nursing, and it's part of the UBC Faculty of Ed, but it's not part of many other teaching programs.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, it's very thorough.
We're good.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.